Welcome all. This is Raji, Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and I'm going to take the topic satellite link design. So the content that we are going to discuss in this lecture it is we are going to see how the satellite links are designed and what are the link budget that we have to concentrate and how we are going to represent them. Okay, so first we'll go for the introduction. Uh, the introduction part we have to know about what is a satellite link. Okay, so a satellite link it is defined as a Earth station satellite again and Earth station connection. And this it can be further subdivided into two parts. The first one it will be like Earth station to satellite link, and the second one it is satellite to Earth station. So here you are going to send the information from the base station. That is what you call it as Earth station. Base station is nothing but an antenna which is going to be there present in the ground, and from there you are going to send the signal to the satellite. So when you have the Earth station satellite segment, and that you call it as an uplink, means when you try to send the information from the Earth station to the satellite, you call that to be an uplink. It can be either from the base station to the satellite or some other mobile station to the satellite. And the second part that you're going to have it is like from satellite to the Earth station. So sometimes the satellite will also be communicating to the base station. And when you go for that base station, the satellite base station is going to receive the information from the satellite. So you call this satellite to Earth station segment as downlink. So this uplink and downlink is going to be defined by the name itself. Like the uplink, it tells that the information is being sent upwards, means from the ground towards the satellite. And what does the name downlink specify? It means that the information it is going to be sent from the satellite down to the earth. So this is what you call it as uplink and the downlink. The base station is going to either send the information to the satellite, or the satellite is going to send the information to the earth station. These two segments together you call it as a satellite link. And now we'll check what a base station contains on, or what an earth station contains. Okay, so the earth station is going to consist of two different things. The first one is going to be the transmission link design, and the second one is going to be the transmission system design. So in the transmission link design, what you're going to do is it is going to identify what are the resources that you need to achieve a given service, or to provide a given service very effectively, and to achieve the performance objectives also. So if your performance is going to be beyond the objectives, it is well and good. Or if you are unable to or if you are unable to meet the performance objective, then what will be the service that you have to use to reach the performance objective? That has to be considered in the transmission link design. Right? And the next one it is the transmission system design. So here in the transmission system design, what you're going to do is it is going to tell you what method of encoding you're going to use and how the signals are going to be transformed, what modulation you're going to use, all those criteria. So that we'll be discussing briefly in the next upcoming slides. Okay, now we will go for the design of the satellite link. Okay, so the satellite link is basically you're going to send the microwaves from Earth to space. So the satellite link is like you are going to send the microwaves from the Earth to the space. So that is what that is being established by the use of Earth station. The Earth station is going to send the information to the satellite, which you call it as space. Right? So this means that an imaginary line is extending between the transmission and receiving Earth station, and the satellite antenna passes only through the atmosphere and not through the ground obstacles. Right? So I'll repeat again. So it means that an imaginary line, so it is not a physical line, or it actually is existing. So we just have an imaginary line, like which is similar to a path transmitting, which simulates the transmission or recipient of the Earth station and satellite communication. So either through that line only, the satellite is going to send the information to the Earth station, or the Earth station is going to give the information to the satellite. So we just imagine a path, and that imaginary path you call it as the imaginary line. So and what happens? The satellite is going to pass only through the atmosphere and not through the ground obstacles. So that you know already. Right? And the free space attenuation, what it is going to be determined by the inverse square law, which states that the power received is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Means as the distance increases, the free space attenuation might also increase. And even this is not the only factor that is going to have the free space attenuation. You have some other additional facts also. So, and those facts it is going to include the amount of degradation and the time variation. So, what is the time taken, and all those facts also affects the free space attenuation part. So, in what will be those factors we'll see? The first one will be rain. When you have a heavy rain, obviously you would have experienced some disturbances in the signals that you're going to have. So these includes rain, terrain effects such as absorption by trees and walls. So there might be loss of signals also. So and some less obvious impairment produced by unstable conditions of air in the atmosphere. Right? So it's the job of the communication engineer to identify all these significant contributions. So as I tell already, you have so many factors. So it is the job of a communication engineer to identify all the significant contributions to performance and make sure that they are properly taken into account. So the communication engineer, before starting the design, he has to take into consideration what the performance contributions to the performance, right, and the required factors. So now we will see what are the factors required for the performance of the satellite. So the first thing it is the configuration of the uplink, the performance of the uplink, configuration of downlink, and the performance of downlink earth stations. So all these factors do matter when you take the performance into an account. So how an uplink has been configured, how a downlink has been configured, how a base station is being configured. All these actually matters when you consider the performance. If there is any deviation in the configuration of uplink or in the configuration of satellite, like any one of the configuration, that leads to degradation of performance. So the impact of the propagation medium is also the frequency also present. So and how does it matters? It affects the frequency band of the signal that you are going to send from the base station to the satellite. So the impact of the propagation media also matters. The medium which you choose to send the signal from the base station to the satellite also matters, and it also affects the performance, right? And the RF carrier in the microwave communication, it starts with the transmitting electronics. So the transmitting electronics is nothing but the transmitting antenna that you're going to have. So and it propagates through a medium of free space, and then it is being received by the receiving antenna, right? So where you have the transmitting antenna, what it is going to capture the microwave signals or the RF carrier wave signals, absorbs it and sends it to the receiving antenna. And what is this receiving antenna is going to do is it is going to send the satellite wave to the receiving electronics. Right? So here the carrier is modulated by a baseband signal that transfers the information for a particular application. So the carrier can be either modulated like it by using amplitude modulation or a frequency modulation. So the carrier is going to be modulated by a baseband signal that transfers information for a particular application. So the very first step that you're going to consider while designing a microwave link is like you have to identify what are the overall requirements and what will be the critical components that determines the performance. So which components might influence the performance of your network, that has to be identified first, and then the overall requirements that is you needed to improve the performance also matters. So that is the very first step that you are going to do while designing a microwave link. right? And for this, what you're going to do, like how can I identify what are the overall requirements and what are the critical components that determine the performance? What we do is we make use of the basic arrangement that is shown. Okay, so the diagram here, so the diagram that you can check here, the information input is being encoded. So any encoding it can be done, and so to be clear, now I'll tell you what will be the information input. The information input is going to be a signal. Okay, so it is going to be an analog signal, and that signal will be encoded. And after encoding, you are going to modulate the signal. So what is the use of modulation here? It is you the signal, the information what you are going to send, it should not be stolen out, right? So you are going similar to encoding the modulation part. It is like an another signal. It is like an another signal which is going to be mixed with the information signal. So after the modulation part, what is going to do is the information signal is being combined with the modulating signal. The modulator is going to combine both the signals, the carrier wave and the modulating wave. So these two will be combined and then sent up to the up converter. And what this up converter is going to do is it chooses a suitable medium to send the wave that you have modulated to the satellite. So and after choosing the medium, it is going to be transmitted. And in the satellite part, what you have two different things. One it is the receiving antenna, and the second one it is transmission antenna. So what the receiving antenna is going to do, it is going to take the signal from the base station. As marked already, you can see the diagram. So from the base station, the receiving antenna is going to receive the signal. From there, the satellite, what it is going to do, it is going to take all the information that is necessary to be sent to the receiving part, and through the transmission antenna, it will send to the receiver end. So now, before receiving or before getting back the original signal, you are supposed to go for three other process. The first process that you're going to have it is low noise block converter. So here during the transmission, due to the atmospheric part, you have the attenuation. Attenuation is nothing but the noise inclusion in your signal. So noise might be included in the signal. So here the low noise block converter, what it is going to do is it is going to eliminate all the noise that is present in your signal. After eliminating the noise, uh, the receiver and the demodulator, what it is going to do is it is going to separate the signal wave and the modulated wave. So in the modulated part, we have included a modulating wave along with the signal, the information signal, right? So that we are going to separate it now in the demodulation phase. So what the demodulator is going to do, it is going to separate the carrier wave from the modulated wave, right? So you will have the information signal separately now, and like after encoding whatever was the signal, you will be receiving that now. So you have to go for the decoding part. After decoding, you will get the exact information whatever you have sent. So the receiver will be able to get the information that you have sent. So and this is like we'll go for the digital signal and what are the components that we make use of during this transmission. So in the previous slide we have seen like what will be the process of transmission. Okay? And here we look out what will be the components that you're going to make use of for the transmission. So the components that you're going to make use of is like the modem you will have, transmission antennas and the receiving antennas you're going to have, and the modulator also you're going to have. So only these components you're going to consider. So when considering, while taking a look on this diagram, you can easily see that while transmitting from the base link to the satellite, a thermal noise is being included. So this thermal noise is going to be included when you send the information signal from the base station to the satellite. And when you send the signal back from the satellite to the base station, the thermal noise is going to be eliminated, right? And now we'll continue with the design. So when you go for the direction, so how your communication is going to take place. So either it is directional, like single directional or bidirectional. So the bidirectional here, obviously it is going to be bidirectional because you send the signal from the base station to the satellite, and similarly from the satellite also to the base station. So the communication takes place in from both ends. So you call this to be a bidirectional communication. So this bidirectional communication occurs with a separate transmission from each base station. Right? So the bidirectional communication which is going to take place with a separate transmission from the earth station. So it means that it is going to have a separate antenna for transmitting and a separate antenna for receiving. So due to the analog nature of the radio frequency, each element is going to contribute to gain or loss of the link. It depends on the element. Depending on the element, you are going to have either gain or loss in the link. And this gain or loss, how you are going to identify it is, loss might be due to the noise, and gain also due to the interference. Right? So the gain or loss might be due to the noise or the interference. And now the result in the overall performance is presented in terms of the ratio of carrier power to noise. Okay, so the performance, how you're going to work and identify it is with the ratio to the carrier power to noise. The carrier power you're going to represent in terms of C, and the noise you're going to represent in terms of N. So you know if it is going to be the ratio, it means that you're going to represent it by C by N, right? And obviously you're going to include information quality also. Any uncertainty that can be covered by providing an appropriate amount of link margin, which is over and above the ratio of carrier wave to the noise needed to deal with the propagation effects and non-linearity in the earth stations and satellite repeater. And here, as said already, the service quality is going to be determined uh, as using the ratio of C divided by N. And what is C there here? C, it is going to be a carrier wave, and N, it is going to be the noise. So, and what will be the contribution for the carrier wave, and what will be the contributions for the noise signal, that we are going to take a look now. So the uplink is going to be uplink EARP and uplink pattern advantage, and these types of signals will be contributed to the carrier. And what are the losses? So this will be the advantages for carrier wave, and these will be your negative part. So which means it is going to be a loss part. So you told that we have seen that you are going to consider both loss and gain, both loss and gain. So you're going to have the set of factors that is going to contribute as gain, and the set of factors that is going to contribute as loss. So some certain losses, it includes free space losses, rain attenuation, etc. And what will be the factors that is going to include noise is like, so you have the uplink thermal noise, what we have seen in the diagram already. So from uplink thermal noise we had when you, and this will be included when you transfer the information from the base station, means the earth station, to the satellite. And the other thing, downlink thermal noise, it is going to be included when you go in the reverse path, means you are going to transfer the signal from the satellite to the base station or the earth station, right? And the next thing that you have is the co-channel interference. So what is co-channel interference? It is, so usually the base stations or satellites is going to have certain groups. So, and you have certain area that will be covered by the transmitting antenna or the receiving antenna. So sometimes two or more channels might cover the same area, and at that particular time the signal uh, gets lost because it is being chosen by all the three factors, right? And the next thing, satellite link design, we have the four factors related to satellite design is like the weight of the satellite, the choice frequency band, the atmospheric propagation effects, and the multiple access techniques. So these four factors, it has to be related to the system design. So weight of the satellite, we could not reduce it. So like it depends on the components, and when we start designing we have the option of choosing the frequency band and the multiple access technique that we can use. So the choice of frequency band, it will be like the maximum major frequency bands that we use. It will be like 64 gigahertz or 14 bar 11 gigahertz, and certain frequency bands we have based on the application needs. Okay, so based on the application, whichever uplink or downlink we choose. So when we mention it as 6 bar 4, like when you transmit the signal from the base station to the satellite, you make use of 6 gigahertz frequency band. And when you have the downlink part, like when you start transferring the information from the satellite to the base station, you make use of 4 gigahertz frequency band. So this is what the representation means. 6 bar 4 gigahertz means that the first part is going to be the uplink frequency, and the second part is going to be the downlink frequency. So in the multiple, when you go for the multiple access techniques, you have many techniques like CDMA, MDMA, and with collision access and without collision access. So you have several multiple access techniques, and you can choose any one of the access techniques or more. You can combine also. Right, and we will go for link budget now. So the link budget determines the antenna size that you are going to implement. Okay, so if the antenna size is going to be more, then instead of having one antenna which is of more size, you can have multiple antennas which is going to be of less size, because you increase the size of the antenna, obviously it is going to cover more area, but you do have disadvantages also. Okay, so to avoid that disadvantages, what we do, we increase the number of antennas and reduce the number of size. Okay, so while designing the antenna size, like for how much size the antenna should be, we are going to calculate all the four, like the power requirements, how much power will be needed for an antenna size, and how much link availability is there, what will be the accepted bit error rate, and what will be the customer satisfaction with the satellite service. Okay, so link budget is you are going to represent that in a tabular form, and it simplifies these carrier to noise ratio calculations also. Okay, so now we'll see how it is the segments that is going to be present in the satellite link. Okay, so you have three different segments. The first one, it is the uplink media. Okay, so the transmitting station, where you call it as the uplink media. The second one is going to be the satellite, and the third one is going to be the downlink, which means the earth receiving earth station. So these three is going to be the part of your satellite link. So when you start designing your link budget, you have to keep this also in mind. And when you go for the carrier level received at the end of the link, it is going to be straightforward addition of losses and gains. So how much loss you have and how much gains you have, you're going to consider everything in between the transmitting and receiving earth stations. And the carrier to noise ratio calculation is can be done by using link budgets, and it can also be simplified using link budget. And the other advantage that you can use advantage of link budget, it is the evaluation of received power and noise power in the radio link, that can also be done in link budget. So now we'll see an example for a link budget, and it will be more clear how it is going to work. So the satellite application engineers, so this is in case study part. So this is the scenario, and for this scenario, we'll go with the link budget here. Okay. So downlink budget, we are going to consider the characteristics of the state satellite transmitter and antenna, the path, the receiving antenna, and the expected performance of the Earth station receiver. So it contains the elements that selected the same radio signal, which demodulates the useful information and retains only the useful information and eliminates the noise, everything. So this is an example for a link budget, and here you can notice what are the parameters that you have considered while implementing a link. So you're going to have a transmit power. You're going to have a transmit power, the transmit waveguides, so transmit antenna gain, satellite ERP, free space loss, atmospheric absorption, receiving antenna gain, receiving waveguide loss, received carrier power, system noise temperature, earth station, and bandwidth, noise power, carrier to noise ratio, as I told you already. So you're going to calculate all these things in your link parameter, right? So the next thing that you're going to have is the same thing in the downlink budget. Each of the link parameters relates to a specific piece of hardware or some property of uh, the microwave path between space and ground. A good way to develop the link budget is to prepare with a spreadsheet program. Okay, so this permits the designer to include the various formulas directly in the budget so that you can avoid the problem of external calculation. So you don't need to perform any external calculations there. So the same way we have discussed about the link budget for a downlink, right? So similarly, you're going to have this satellite budget for an uplink now. And here, what you're going to consider is like the specific flux density and the specific power level that is used in the transporter. So with you're going to have the example now here. We had 15 parameters for the downlink, right? Now we have 16 other parameters here in the uplink. And here what you're going to see about it is the transmit power that you're going to have, the transmit waveguide losses, spread losses, free space loss, and the spacecraft received carrier to noise ratio. Again, you're going to calculate all these parameters for the link that is being established for from the base station to the satellite. So the same thing it is being done for uplink and also the downlink. And now we'll see the formula for calculating the carrier to noise ratio. So the carrier to noise ratio, it is obviously going to include the parameters that we have encountered in a link budget. So you would have encountered the terms EIRP, G bar T, and the losses, whatever it was there in the downlink and also in the uplink. That is what it has been given. EIRP within brackets, when they have mentioned it as D, it means it contributes to the downlink. And the same thing, it will be, you will have the same contribution for uplink also. So that is also going to be considered, right? So all those things will be an addition. And the losses that you're going to have, it is only the noises that has been raised due to the interference and due to the noise in the atmosphere. So here, the overall link budget we'll just see now. Which here you're going to include both the uplink and the downlink part. So the uplink carrier to noise ratio is going to be 31.7 decibels, and the downlink carrier to noise ratio is going to be 11.4 decibels, right? And what should be the noise to carrier ratio? That is also being calculated here, and the unit they mention it as ratio alone. Why? Because you whatever is going to be more, if the noise is more, you're going to have it in decibels, or if the signal is going to be contributing more, you can mention the frequency. So here you don't have any units to be specified. So just you're going to calculate the ratio between the noise and the carrier wave. So that alone is being mentioned here. Okay, so now you have some steps, like some 15 steps over here to design a satellite link. So the first step is like you have to identify the frequency band, and you have to identify what are the parameters for this used for satellite communication. That will be your second step. And the third step is like identifying the earth station parameters, and the fourth one is going to be the uplink establishment, right? So the uplink budget establishment separately you're going to do, and determining the transponder power, output power, you're going to do it in the fifth step. When you go for the sixth step, last two steps will be repeated for the downlink. Now you're going to identify what will be the downlink power, and in step 7 you're going to calculate the carrier to noise ratio, right? So after this you're going to have signal to noise ratio uh, in the baseband channel. And in the ninth step you're going to identify what is going to be the link margin. So we do all these steps, and the comparative analysis of result and the specification requirements has to be done to identify whether you have met the requirements given by the customer. So that will be done in step 10. So once you finish that, we'll go for tweak system parameters to obtain the acceptable carrier to noise ratio. And in step 12, you're going to go for propagation condition determination. And in step 13, you calculate the uplink and downlink unavailability estimation, and in step 14 you redesign. If at all you want to change any parameters, you can change it. And in step 15, all whatever parameters you have changed or whatever parameters you have left out, is it valid or not, that you are going to determine in step 15. So if it is reasonable, then okay, it is fine, then the satellite design is successful. And if your design is not right, it means the parameters that you have eliminated are not reasonable, then you have to, then your satellite link is going to be unsuccessful, and you have to start the satellite link design entirely from the step 1, right? And this is with respect to the satellite link methodology, right? And this to finish.